But I just thought that would be that Friday. I think that Friday morning, yeah.
Good evening, everybody. It is 5:30 on Tuesday, July 12th. Would like to call the City of Clovis's largest tax meeting to order. First, we're going to start with roll call. Will the clerk please call roll?
Freddie Bryant.
Here.
Gail Tarson.
Here.
Stephen Rodriguez.
Here.
Thomas Martin.
Here.
And Commissioner Garza. Commissioner Garza?
He did call me and said he was going to try his hardest. So, we are, next up, we're going to approve the minutes from our last meeting that was on May 10th. I was absent.
I move to approve.
To approve. So, first motion by Gail,
I'll second.
Freddie with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries on last month's meeting minutes. And Vicki and Justin, I missed the last one, and we were going to talk about, we were going to add something to the agenda. Do we want to throw that onto the next one? About,
It's on here.
Is it?
Under for the good of the order.
Oh, I was supposed to read this.
You're supposed to read your agenda.
Cool. Just checking. All right, step 4, tonight's meeting. We are going to review the applications for the largest tax funds in the order that they came in. I will tell you right off the bat, so we, with the new process, we review your applications so we have a general idea of what we're looking at. If you have things to add to it or any highlights, that's what we're looking for. This is our timer, and I think we keep removing sand from it. So there's like 12 seconds left in it, so good luck. The other thing is we have amount requested tonight is $162,000 roughly.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, just to give you an update where we are with the funds and starting this fiscal year. We actually closed last fiscal year with a cash balance of $362,780.24. In that, there is carryover amounts requested of $309,582, which left us with a available carryover balance of $53,198.24. Based off of our proposed and projected budgets, there would be $229,988.50 in new revenues coming into the fund, leaving us available for distribution for the entire year of $283,186.74, which breaks down to, if you just divided that evenly out over the various meetings that we have scheduled throughout the year, would be about $47,000 allocated each meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. That's, I was going to say all of that. Thanks for saving me the time. So there's not a whole lot of money to distribute. So there will be, so that being said, be prepared to not get fully funded or funded, or fully, we'll see how it goes. But we're going to go in order that the request came in. So first up is the Curry County Fair.
Good evening. I'm Casey Messick. I'm the general manager of the Curry County Event Center and Fairgrounds. This is Jeff Lynn. He is with us doing our marketing as well as our kind of our event planning end of the fair. I guess we'll start out. Jeff took some notes.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hi, Jeff.
Good seeing you again. Most of everything, of course, is in the packet there. Just kind of a few brief things. We're, of course, celebrating a little over 100 years of the Curry County Fair. So it's went on 100 years now, so it's big and dear to our parts of the county and also for all the citizens of Curry County and surrounding area coming to the fair. This year's theme is Barn in the USA. We kind of went with a little American theme there with it, with a cow and some other stuff. Kids from all over the area, of course, show animals. They show Curry County and other areas as well. They come here, pigs, sheep, cows, goats, you name it. They show it. Something that's not in there that most people don't realize is when the carnival comes to town, we've got the same carnival guy for the last at least 30 years that I know of.
Yeah, John Ring and Wright's Amusements, he comes to us, third generation, actually, his grandfather, and then his father and his uncle, and now him, so.
And when they come to town, they actually put a lot of money back into our community. They buy all their fuel local, all their repairs. They actually even give money back to the showing the animals, the livestock sale, things like that.
Yeah, part of their contract is the junior livestock sale. They pledge to donate so much money to the junior livestock sale, which is kind of the selling factor. We renewed their contract this year, and that's kind of one of the biggest points is their local involvement and kind of their ties to our fair.
A couple other things that we got going on this year. We are having a rodeo during the fair on Friday and Saturday, full-blown rodeo with bull riding and the whole 9 yards. Free and open to the public after you pay your gate admission. Mutton busting, which is a big event. They love to put kids on the back of sheeps and let them ride. It's always a fun thing to watch. And lots of music. We've got Battle of the Bands this year, something new. We're going to do a lot of local bands, regional bands to do a band, Battle of the Bands.
And kind of to emphasize on that as well, we have reached out kind of to the radio networks. DJs all have DJ friends, I found out, and so they are all the way from Tulsa to San Antonio, Austin, Denver. They're reaching out to these people that are outside of our region to try and draw them in, so that we can find the best 6 bands to put up for the Battle of the Bands on Friday night of the fair.
And to close out, we've got Thursday night will be Michael Segato. He's a very big Tejano act. I think almost everybody's heard that name before. And then Saturday we've got Reckless Kelly and the Heartbreaks. What's their? Reckless Kelly.
It's Reckless Kelly along with Roger Klein and the Peacemakers.
So those are our entertainment acts for this year. Plus, the normal things are always part of a fair. The fair food's number one in everyone's mind. So you got to wait another month and you can get yourself a deep fried whatever you want. But other than that, that's kind of everything happening this year at the fair, and we're open for any questions you guys might have.
Thank you. So I saw the addition onto your marketing budget of the $4,000 for security.
Yes, sir.
Is that police?
Yes, sir.
City police. Generally we split it. The sheriff's department does the bulk of the fairgrounds, and the Clovis PD is dedicated to the carnival, which is 50% of our crowd at any given time. So split them 4 and 4.
Well, yeah, I do. So one of the questions, you guys have been doing this many, many years. Have you been tracking in the past how many are coming in and actual hotel nights from those coming in? Any way to know?
That one's a tough one. I haven't been able to find any solid numbers on that. I mean, I know that there is what we do on our end as far as what we book through the event center for entertainment plus livestock judges, livestock families that come in to join us for the fair. But other than that, I'm not really sure. No,
Do you have those numbers?
not with me, but yeah, it's somewhere. I know that on our end, we book 15 rooms for like 4 nights apiece on our end, as
Okay.
far as the event center for judges and entertainment.
So I'm just going to state, and I know we'll talk about this later, but one of the key factors that helps us determine how much money we can present out is based on what is the return. It's business economics, return on
Absolutely.
investment. So one of the things that's good for you guys to be thinking about, preparing for, and the ability to answer to some degree is what are the anticipated room nights and how you came to that number is going to be really helpful in us justifying how much money we may or may not be able to give out.
Absolutely.
So, got nothing? You got nothing? There's just 14 rooms? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to make up a number for you.
Okay,
just to
sure.
appease. as far as the fair goes, as far as the draw goes, certain nights, obviously towards the weekend, it draws a regional crowd, for the concerts mainly, Thursday nights and on Saturday nights. That's why we try and bring in a nationally, known act as opposed to local. Other than that, it's all based around the livestock show and that going forward from there.
Okay. Then the other question, and then I'll be done, I promise. So last time, according to the documents, the last time you were funded 24/5, and you're asking for more than double than that this time. So can you kind of speak to that?
You can, yeah, I mean,
In 2019, or I'm sorry, 2020 is actually when that was awarded the original amount. It was carried over when we had COVID, and they carried it over from the next year. And then, so that was already granted or already awarded, so that's what we stuck with there. Since then, of course, we're trying to make the fair bigger and better and add bigger acts than what we've had before. 2019 was the last time we were able to have, decent sized acts, and then 2021, we kind of just skimped by as best we could because, again, COVID was still a little relevant there, and people were kind of scared about coming out, especially to a large crowd. So, as we move forward, we're trying to find bigger acts, and of course, the cost of fuel to transport those acts is getting more and more expensive on our end. The fair budget's had, it keeps getting higher and higher, of course. So that's kind of where we've done it. We've also wanted to reach out a lot more to more of the regional area, especially with Michael Segato and the bigger acts. We don't want to just have it to be a small Clovis. We want to bring in the Amarillos, the Lubbocks, the places they're going to stay the night versus, just not, being the local area here. So if you have an act like Michael Segato or something like that, he's going to draw in a nice regional area. And they're more than likely going to spend the night here in Clovis and stay the night to partake in the fair afterwards. Concerts are over and, carnival rides and food and that kind of stuff.
Okay, have you guys started thinking about ways to track that as far as the hotel rooms and things like that?
We have not. And we're open to ideas and suggestions on how we can do that. It's kind of hard other than we don't know some of these acts if they're coming into town. I know last year one of the acts, they got their own hotel rooms, things like that. Some of them do come in with RVs and that stuff as well. So it's really hard since we let them do that themselves. We don't actually pay for it to actually, we could start asking them, I guess, and kind of just keeping a little better track, but that's probably the only way we would know.
and we get some feedback from our Facebook ads, because it shows the regional, attending, not attending, so on and so forth. We can pretty well judge that if they're coming from Austin, Texas for one night for a concert, they're probably staying in town somewhere. I know that's a very vague answer, but that's a good way where we kind of know where we target for the next year. Do we target, to Hereford, or do we go out broader and target all the way to San Antonio? Is that what our draw is going to be? Going off of the numbers that we had for Michael Salgado in 2020, that was the first year we canceled him. I can tell you that just in their travel expenses, to retain them for this year, we had to add $3,000. Their cost of travel went up, obviously, gas and whatnot, but we could track and see that we were pulling people that were interested in the show coming from all the way down to San Antonio.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was looking for, is I know you probably have a better gauge on how many nights staying for the acts you have coming in.
Right.
But it's more all of the people coming in for
Sure.
the event itself, a way to monitor and track that, and then give that feedback is
Sure.
really helpful to us.
Yeah, and we can pull that. I know I pulled some numbers just to kind of see where we needed to advertise for this year off of that, and we need to broaden our scope because we were getting some good feedback from San Antonio, El Paso, even Hobbs, that kind of area down there. And then we were also heading up north. I think we got some hits from Denver, that kind of Denver area. So yeah, that's good to look at, and we'll pull some of that and see what we can find out.
Thanks.
And along those lines, are ticket sales, are they through your sites?
Actually, all ticket sales are local, so they go to the gate.
So there's you can't buy the ticket
No,
online?
no
prior to
pre,
going
no
in?
pre-sale, no, and the tickets for the concerts are, the concert admission is included with your gate ticket
Okay.
to the fair. We tried to separate that out, 2019, and it didn't work very well. So it's gonna be an all-inclusive price, and, that way, we're hoping to draw the quantity, increase the quantity by, you know, an all-inclusive one ticket.
I have a question. You guys got Facebook, Google, Facebook. Of course, you guys are doing media production. I'm not sure what that is. But your radio stations, is that all necessary for radio stations to be all the way to Hobbs? I mean, for this?
So statistically, I mean, if you're looking at advertising into another market, the cheapest way to do that is gonna be a radio station. You can buy commercials for $8 to $10 a piece. Some stations a little higher than that, versus trying to find TV stations, which especially like now, how it's split up between Hulu and Amazon and everything else, it's really hard to market
Well,
that.
I'm even saying that, like, you got YouTube. Is that necessary?
You know, if you're wanting to get a broader reach, I believe it is.
But
You know,
have you brought in any of that reach?
we've never done that before, no, sir.
So that we have,
So this would be all new territory for that, to bring in. Again, based on what we've done last year in 2019, we're seeing that there's interest from outer, farther areas. We're just trying to reach that area. And if you start talking, you know, a bigger city like San Antonio, we can't afford a $50, $60 commercial, for anything. So our chances of getting them on a YouTube video or something like that would be a lot better.
okay, oh, I got it.
Gail, you good? Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Desert Cruisers Car Club, 25th Annual Run to Hillcrest. You're gonna be a busy man tonight.
I'm gonna be a busy man. Y'all spend a lot of me tonight.
Hey, Mr. Bailey.
How y'all doing?
Good, sir.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Mr. Jerry Bailey. I'm president of the Desert Cruisers. I have been for the past 20 years, I think. So I'm trying to help put this thing together. We had a real bad past couple of years with COVID, so we're trying to put this together. We made a lot of changes on the show this year, hopefully for the better. So. We're asking for $25,000.
This year, a couple of things have made changes, as Jerry is mentioning there, is in the past, at least for the last 25 years, I know over 24 years, they've always limited the cars to being 1972 or older vehicles. And, you know, as with COVID, we saw a lot of the older members that had cars are either not going to show them anymore.
They're dead.
Or they passed away. Put it nicely, Jerry. Or they've passed away, and their kids are not as enthusiastic about being part of a car club or showing the vehicles, things like that. And we noticed that a little bit last year as the numbers were down. Not in attendance, the number was down in participants in actual cars. And, you know, we typically in the past have always pulled from about 6 states away. We have people from all over that come to our show. It's technically a one-day show Saturday, but Friday we do a hamburger fry and get everybody involved and get them out here locally for the night. 90% of those do stay the night here at least one night in Clovis. A lot of them stay 2 nights because they actually like to come back on Sunday morning. We do breakfast and things like that as well.
We've had several cars enter from Houston already, so that's what, 9-hour drive. I've got a couple from Kansas, a couple from Oklahoma already, and trying to get some interest in Arizona coming down. So we primarily do our hamburger cook-off for these guys that are coming in.
What we're doing this year, a lot of the things in our budget there that we've asked for is some, a few of them are new things, a few of them are things we've done in the past, you know, to get the local people to go to the show itself. The participants, we're trying to reach them as well. We're doing a new website that the car club has never had before. We're trying to make it where they can actually do their registration online. We don't have to mail them a piece of paper and wait for it to be mailed back and half eaten by the dog and that kind of stuff. So we can actually have that stuff right away and instantaneously. Things that should be in the 21st century, but they lack of being able to get them done.
Being old.
Being old. Hey, I was being nice again, Jerry. So we're trying to work on things like that to get in a bigger amount of cars. This year, they did take that restriction away, as I was saying, this 1972. Now it's open to any vehicle. And so you do have a lot of guys that are out here at Cannon Air Force Base and even farther that have some beautiful cars, classics, and some today's cars that they've spent $200,000 and $300,000 and $400,000 in, and they want to show them off. And so we're making it into 4 classes where they can do
Three
just
classes.
that. Oh, 3 classes, I'm sorry. 3 classes where they can do just that. We will have the classics, but we'll also have the new ones too. Again, trying to get the newer generations to be involved and want to partake in. And it's becoming harder and harder. People don't work on cars anymore. They take them to a mechanic and they change out the whole electronic device and there's nothing to it. So we're trying to change with the times when it comes to the show itself and continue to bring more and more people out. They have changed up in the last couple of years. We always give a lot of money back to the Ronald McDonald House, also the Lighthouse Mission. We have a scholarship fund for the CCC scholarship for the mechanics department. We also give Special Olympics and some other things like that. So we really, they try to give back everything they made. The car, they've always in the past, 25 years, 24 years, have given away a car. This year it was just not feasible. It was not in the books. The cars are getting outrageously expensive and hard to find. And by the time we get done selling tickets, there's really no money after we paid for the car. And so instead of going up this year, they decided to do a giveaway for gasoline. That's one thing everybody's wanting right now. So there's it's
Cost as much as a car.
right, almost. So $1,500 in fuel, and they're doing that as a fundraiser this year to be able to give back to those charities, and also the car entrance. Everybody that comes here says they have a blast. They enjoy our show. They also enjoy the people. So everyone's always very friendly to them, and they enjoy coming to our show. We're missing already some of the ones we lost with COVID.
I've had 4 or 5 calls today wanting to know where they can mail in their applications. So we've got a pretty good interest from Los Lunas, Santa Fe, Albuquerque.
Thank you both. Gil?
Same kind of question. So I know you guys they actually apply to be here, right?
Yes.
Aside from the guests.
Yeah.
Do you have numbers based on past events that you can give us as far as approximate hotel nights you expect?
We do have a host motel that we have 3 of them that we list there that have been generous to us over the years to use their parking lot for the hamburger fry and that kind of stuff. They don't really give us exact numbers. We've never, really asked that question for it. I'm sure we could get them from them or a general idea. On our applications, we do ask people where they're coming from because we do get some awards for the farthest distance and things like that. So we can only anticipate that the ones that are, farther than 50, 60 miles are probably going to stay the night. And they're car enthusiasts. Most of them don't bring trailers. They just bring the car. And so they're going to stay at a local hotel. They're not going to have an RV or camper or anything like that.
Sure.
But an exact number, ma'am, I do not have that.
A roundabout number. It doesn't have to be exact because it's an anticipated number.
I would say every year we have about 150-ish cars that are registered. So, I would say probably about 75 rooms per year or per night. Some of those, the second night, maybe half that. So if you have 75 for the first night on Friday and then another 30 or so on that Saturday. Again, I don't want to give, it's going to be a complete estimate. I didn't prepare to give you the numbers like that, though.
These cars are mainly in the 40s and 50s, and they don't want to drive back at night. They're not completely reliable, so
Yeah.
they'd rather wait and start out Sunday morning and drive back. So.
And the show does go every day on Saturday till 4 p.m. So, by that time they're ready for getting a nice bite to eat here at one of the restaurants in town, and then going back to their hotel and resting and relaxing. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Next up is Clovis Evenings Lions Club, the Fall Gun, Knife, and Coin Show.
How are y'all doing?
Good, sir.
My name is Joel Edwards. I am the president of the Clovis Evening Lions Club. Our fall show is coming up in October. Now, we had to change the dates on that, Gail and Mr. Martin. From the 14th through the 16th, we had to change it to the 7th through the 9th. A little bit of conflict there, so it is going to be the 7th through the 9th instead of the 14th through the 16th. In our March show, we had about 50 vendors, 132 tables set up, which was an increase from our October show, which was 44 tables with 122 vendors, or tables. We've had so many requests that we sent out 71 letters already this time to people that's wanting in our gun shows. We're growing, and we're growing fast. A lot of the people that we're getting to contact us is from Alamogordo, Roswell, Artesia, Elephant Butte, El Paso, Hobbs, Albuquerque, Amarillo, Las Cruces, Tucumcari, Lubbock, Aurora, Tierras, and Hurley, New Mexico. These people are coming in. They are staying here in Clovis and everything for the 3-day event. They'll come in Friday morning. They will stay here because we open the gates up at 1 o'clock for the show. They'll stay here Friday night, Saturday night. Sunday we shut down at 5 o'clock. So some of them may stay till Monday. Some of them may go ahead and load up and head on home. I don't know on that date how many people do stay, but I am looking to have probably 160 tables sold out. And if we get 60, 65 new vendors or vendors coming in, that's quite a few people coming in right now. As far as attendance, we have about 1,550 people total for the 3-day deal. It's a Friday afternoon, all day Saturday, and then Sunday till 5 o'clock. So usually around that, usually is walking through. That was our last show that we had, how many people came through. And of course, that was through the COVID time, so I expect more. I'm expecting about 18 to 2,000, to be honest with you.
Attendance entirely?
Yes, ma'am.
Of the folks coming in for tables, what percentage would you say are coming from out of town to result in
Our
a
vendors that are coming
hotel?
from, I'm about 75 to 80% of our vendors are from out of town.
Okay.
And everything. Now, some of them do bring a camper, and they do the campgrounds around and everything like that, but there's very few of them that do bring their campers. Most of them are coming in and already got motel rooms and everything set up. And this year, we are asking for a little bit more money, too. We're asking for $4,000. And the reason for that is we are going to get the barrels rewrapped with the new logo on it. We've got them with the old logo on it right now, but we're going to go ahead and get them rewrapped with a new logo, just to let y'all know that, so it'll give you a little bit to think about on that.
Joel, with the guests in mind, do you guys track where they've come from? Are they staying in town overnight?
Yes, we do track that. That's what I was saying. I didn't bring the exact numbers. I just brought a few of the people, but they're coming from Alamogordo. They're coming from.
Is that
Hurley.
guests or is that?
That's our vendors that are staying. You talking about the guests coming in?
Yes.
I have never tracked that with guests.
Okay.
I have not. I do know they come from Lubbock, Amarillo. They do come in. As far as, I don't know if we have them coming from Colorado or not. This is kind of a new vendor of ours. I don't know if he brings a following with him or not, but a lot of the other people do. They have a following that comes down for gun parts or ammo or something like that, specialty type stuff. So as far as how many, I do not know, Mr. Martin.
Okay. Questions? Good. Joel, thank you, sir.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Two. Next up is the Endless Energy Outdoor Festival. Is he logging in?
I believe he's supposed to be online.
Chandler, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Are you able to hear me?
We are. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time.
So we have read over your application. At this point, you can just give us a brief overview of what you're doing, and then we will have questions from the board.
Sure. So this is the first event that I'm doing in Clovis. I have a company in mind called Swaim Entertainment. Until 2020, I spent about 2.5 years stationed in Okinawa. I'm still active duty here at Cannon Air Force Base. And this is my first event that I'm hosting in the States. It's called Endless Energy. And what I'm wanting to do is we're planning on creating an event with the atmosphere of an outdoor festival, but combining that with the luxury of the Clovis Civic Center. I've already started a lot of the marketing process. I've got triple digits worth of RSVPs so far, combined with plenty of future marketing plans that I have for the next about 45 days or so, I believe, leading up to the event. It is scheduled August 27th from 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. And as of right now, we are expecting anywhere from about 700 to 800 guests.
Quick question for you. Thanks for being with us
Yes, ma'am.
tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You bet. You had mentioned that you're already tracking. Of those that you're tracking, how many are coming from out of town?
From out of town, the RSVPs that we have right now, I would say probably 25 to 30. So out of the 700 to 800 total guests, I'm expecting about 40%. Based off of the data that I'm showing now, I'm expecting about 40% to be coming from out of town. And that would be including essentially a 3 to 4 hour radius from Clovis all the way out to Albuquerque, down to Roswell, Lubbock, Amarillo area, Midland, Odessa, as well as all the small towns in between.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the Civic Center will be hosting it. You've got your target audience, 18 to 28 years old. Alcohol be sold? Is it a, excuse me?
Yes, sir. Alcohol will be sold. The Civic Center obviously is handling all of that. So, as far as my end, I will just be organizing the event alongside with the Civic Center, alongside with Jocks on Wheels, who's going to be providing all of the audio and lighting equipment, as well as DJing the event for us.
And have you done these, did you say you've done these in other cities?
So I actually did these in Okinawa, Japan, when I was stationed out there. My largest event in Okinawa, we had about 615 guests.
All right, Gail, do you have anything?
No.
Which, by the way, I'm open to answering any questions that might be able to fill in some of the blanks for you guys, as well as anything that you just might be curious about or that you may need to know that would factor into your decision making, anything like that.
Okay. I think we're good, and I appreciate you joining us and applying. So we will, we'll let you know.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone's time and for taking this into consideration. Like I said, if there's any questions that I can answer for you, please don't hesitate to contact me.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Misty, what's capacity of the Civic Center? Do you have a number?
So for the type of event that he's playing, it'll basically be a stage, a dance floor, a few tables. The overflow will go onto the patio. So the capacity for this type of
Okay. Thank you. Next up, Curry County Chamber of Commerce Museum billboard promotion.
I forgot who Kim was.
Yeah. Morning, Kim.
They didn't get me a nameplate. So this is the museum billboard. So this is the museum billboard that we have that's located outside of Millshoe. And as you're coming from Lubbock, it's on your right-hand side right there. And we're just wanting to keep it up. And we actually had somebody yesterday that was traveling through this way on their way to Albuquerque, and they saw the museum billboard, and they stopped. So it was great. I know that we didn't get an overnight stay from it, but we got somebody that stopped and stayed. And then last week we had somebody that actually saw it, and we couldn't get them a tour at the recording studio, but we could the next day, so they actually did stay the night. So but we just want to keep it going so we can keep that up.
Is Nick going to remain on the billboard?
Nick and Janine are on that billboard, yes. That was one of our new pictures from New Mexico True. So we may change it out, though, because we do have another one. So,
And this one's static for the entire year?
correct.
Okay.
And it's been up.
So there is a new that we just got on there. We were able to change it out, and so from the last time, the previous time that we came to lodger's tax, so we did have a new wrap on it. So that was one of the photos that New Mexico True took. So we have some more photos that we have from New Mexico True that we can change it out with.
Yeah, no, but my question is, we've had this billboard up
Oh, yes, ma'am.
consistently for a while.
Yes, ma'am.
So based on having that up there, what type of numbers would you say have come into the museum?
A lot.
So do you guys keep track of that? How many people visit the museum?
Yes, ma'am.
Out of town, in town?
This week alone, yesterday, we had 14 people from out of town.
Okay, so if you were to look over the past 12 months,
I could probably give you a number, yes. Last month, we had a group in from Switzerland. We had a group in from the Netherlands. We had a couple in from Australia 2 weeks ago. So,
They saw this billboard
well,
and flew in.
they
This
flew
is
in.
quite a return.
I mean, I'm just saying. But, it's a lot of people. They are like, we seen the billboard. We didn't know that was here in Clovis. So,
Do you have a sign-in sheet,
Yes.
correct?
And we also have when they check in.
Does it say, how did you hear about us?
No, not on that one. But it does on the sign-in sheet. It asks where their location was at. So
Okay.
we can do that. That's
Add a
something we
column.
can do. Yeah, and we have a sign up there that said Facebook, please check in. But I don't know if they've done that. So.
Okay. Gail, Freddie, Stephen, anything?
I'm just thinking, when folks do stop in, there's a lot of other things to do in Clovis. We've
Yes,
got the
and they ask
museum.
us that.
Right, so
and-
there's an opportunity to swing them in for a night stay.
And we
So
do
if
that.
there's-
We try to get them the recording studio, but if we can't get them in that day, usually we can get them in the next day. So if time is available for them, they'll spend the night. They'll ask us, what else is there to do in Clovis? So we try to, let them know. Our favorite saying is, if you want to eat where Buddy Holly used to eat at, we send them to Foxy's. So.
Oh my gosh, if that's not trying to sell you.
I'm sorry, Thomas,
I know,
but
we weren't around long enough.
I'm just saying, sorry.
I was
So.
closing out voucher,
I'm
but
just
I'll go for a
saying.
voucher now.
But my point being, Kim, that's the point I'm trying to bring out. So
Understandable.
we never know what's going to bring people in, whether it's that billboard. Probably people coming from Switzerland didn't see the billboard.
No, they
But-
didn't. They
but
know the history.
The idea of when somebody walks through the door, for whatever reason they come there, it's how do we sell them on other things that could result
Right.
in an overnight stay. So that is part of your programming.
Right, and that's
that
what
you
we're
do for
trying to do
everybody.
with the recording studio, make them an appointment for the following day, and then we'll call
It
a
should
hotel.
never be on the same day,
No, never,
right,
never.
for this to work.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I think tracking it also, where did you hear about it?
Right.
Where was the which country was the billboard located
Located
on?
in.
Sweden or
You know.
Australia?
We are on the World Wide Web, too, so, it's on there, so.
I think we're good on that one.
Okay.
Are you up next too?
Are we going to do the other billboard?
Yes.
Okay. So this billboard is one that we did last year. Y'all funded us last year. It was the first year that we've done this one. It's on I-40. And it currently promotes Clovis as the home of the 2020 tie-down roping world champion Shad Mayfield. And because of New Mexico True, of what we received from them last year, the photo shoots and the photos from them, we would like to spotlight one or two attractions: the zoo, the recording studio, the museum, Pioneer Days, the fair. We haven't decided what we want to do, but that's on I-40, and it's coming, of course, towards Clovis. And it has Visit Clovis as the website where they go to Visit Clovis, and then it has everything that we offer.
So is this one static as well, or?
Yes,
Okay, so you're just,
yes.
so it's static for 12 months?
Yes, sir. It's right outside Klein's Corners. So instead of having them turn south to go to Roswell, we want them to keep going straight, come close.
I don't have anything on this one. I think we're good on
Thank
this
you
one.
all.
Thanks, Kim. Ernie, I think you were up with the events coordinator, unless you want Kim to present.
I'm very proud to present this one. But before I do, I just want to thank you all for your support with the Clovis Music Festival and the marketing money that we got to promote that, and especially during the same week of Dragon Maine, and both events were very successful. So we're still trying to find out what our bottom line is, but both of them worked out very well, and so thank you for that. And then we also partnered with Mounted Patrol and all of them on the Pioneer Days, and so I know you have a hard job to do because there's so many great fun things going on now because everybody's ready to party now that we can get out and be with each other. So I'm here to present the event coordinator position that we've had with you all over the years, and so I would like you to know that what we strive to do is just have promotion of Clovis as a destination for tourism in our most professional way. And in the last couple of years, we have definitely had a stronger partnership with the New Mexico True, and have gotten some, during COVID, they had all kinds of programs where they were going to help communities to have tourism once we open it back up, and we've taken full advantage of all of those incentives. And so what Kim does for us, I know you all know what she does, but we try to recruit conventions and conferences here. Now, people are not ready to have full-fledged conferences. I have several conferences myself that are still on Zoom that are coming up, and so, but hopefully we can be recruiting conferences and conventions soon. And then also the marketing strategies that we work on to promote Clovis as a tourism destination. So I don't even know when we did it, but in the last year, we started the new website for Visit Clovis. Visit Clovis at clovisnm.org, and so we're specifically just highlighting all of the tourism attractions and all the events that are coming up on that. And then the Clovis Rocks brand and the new brand of the whole branding initiative that we did as a community, and then promoting heartfelt connections and endless horizons. And people feel that, when they come to our events and come to Clovis. So we coordinate special events and conventions and all at the bottom line, trying to increase the gross receipts for Clovis. And so Kim has done a great job, especially this last few weeks, definitely being the event coordinator for all of the Clovis Music Festival, but at the same time, she was still very involved with Dragon Maine, and so she she had some personal things going on that I think everybody knows about as well. So anyway, so our goal is always to get new visitors here and repeat visitors. So when Kim was talking about the billboards, people come are going to start coming here in the fall, going straight through Clovis to go to the Balloon Fiesta. And last year we saw an increase of people that were doing that. And so, when they come and see the billboard, it gives them an opportunity to say, well, let's stop in Clovis on our way to Albuquerque and the big events in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. The other thing is with the new Buddy Holly Center in Lubbock, and the Buddy Holly museum there's increased promotion for that. So, partnering with them and trying to figure out how people can, especially overseas visitors, can come and make a Buddy Holly trek from Lubbock to Clovis and see all the things there is to see. We're very excited about our upcoming project with the museum, where we will be plugging in all that analog equipment that we've had and trying to make a recording studio out of it, and major upgrades to the building as relates to restrooms and parking lot, things like that from capital outlay. So we're set up to really do a lot of things as it relates to tourism. And so some of the things that Kim's worked on, I already mentioned, is Pioneer Days as well. They really depended a lot. But these, like Pioneer Days and Dragon Maine, they had hired other people to do their marketing as well, but everybody partnered with Kim. Kim was the focal point of all the different things, and how, she not only did it, but consulted a lot with other people that were hired to do marketing for those events. We had one event, is it coming up, or did we already have the retired teachers? In September, where Kim's been working with these guys for a couple of years because they had to cancel because of COVID. So it's not a big conference, but it's still a retired conference for the state of New Mexico of teachers. And so, now I think Kim's got a whole bunch of new best friends of little teachers that come in, and they have her. She's doing everything for them. And so I don't have to sell you guys on Kim, but I just want you to know that from my perspective, I know you just said you're limited on money, and so this would be the most important request that we're making out of the three.
Thanks, Ernie.
Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Misty, you're up with the Civic Center Holiday Bazaar.
Aloha Lodgers Tax Advisory Board. I'm Misty Bertrand. I'm the general manager at the Clovis Civic Center. Oh, I just lost my form. All right, I'll just wing it. There was one mistake on our form that I noticed. It mentioned that we only received funding in 2019. We did receive funding in 2020 that was carried over to 2021, so we received $8,000 in 2021. I did supply you with that report, so Gail, I'm sorry, we got lazy. We used to ask the question, how many room nights? It confused people, so we changed it to what is your zip code, but we will be going back to the old way so that we can answer that question more accurately. How many room nights do you have? So as you're aware, with the events that we do at the Civic Center, we do have an iPad with volunteers at the door, greeting them, super happy, yay, welcome to Clovis. Always willing to share information about where you can go after you're leaving the event, but most importantly, asking them to fill out that little quick survey that we have. So asking them where they heard about the event, and then previously, were you from Clovis or not, and are you staying in Clovis? So we simplified that to the two questions just in the past year with COVID, so we will go back to asking room nights. That being said, I did submit that report for the last Holiday Bazaar, and I can report that 14% of the folks who came to the event we had 2,000 folks who came to the event, 1,100 that actually signed in on the iPad, and 14% of those folks were from a area outside of Clovis, 100 miles or more outside of Clovis. So we're assuming that those folks stayed nights. We do know that our out-of-town vendors do stay the night here. 40% of our vendors are from out of state. I wish I would have had the exact numbers for you, but I don't have that with me. When I come back in January, I can totally report back on that. So the Holiday Bazaar annual event that we do brings in vendors from out of town to sell their wares. Again, we make it a point to let folks know, hey, since you're here in Clovis, here are other things that are going on. We actually pass out the profiles things like that at that little check-in registration table. So wonderful event. We see lots of folks coming in from out of town, Portales, Texaco, Farwell, Bovina, the areas like that, again, because we're able to capture those zip codes. And moving forward, we will ask about room nights. I'll stand for any questions that you have about our proposal. Oh, one thing that we're adding this year, and my sponsors would be so mad if I didn't mention it, we are adding a hat bar this year, so you can come and design your own hat. I designed this over the phone talking to our sponsors prior to this meeting, and it made me happy, so I wanted to come show it off to you guys. And with that, I will stand for any questions that you have.
I'm going to brag on you again, Misty, because it is really helpful when you can give us those kind of numbers, especially when we're having to make some really tough decisions tonight.
Absolutely.
Like, we know people are going to be unhappy tonight, and so giving us the numbers to work with is really cool. Thank you. I
Yes.
brag on you all the time.
Thank you so much. And I know I did ask for 16,000 in this proposal, 8,000 before. I always ask for more, hoping that it's one of those nights where there's extra money and I'm going to get it all. I understand if you need to cut my proposal. It's super important that we keep Kim at the chamber. Go, Kim.
Thanks,
you.
Misty.
Thank you.
I think we're good, Misty. Next to Clovis Main Street. Lisa, you're up.
Good evening. We are
Ooh, she
here.
brought back up.
What?
You brought back up.
I brought back up.
The
heavy
big
hitters.
guns.
So which one do you want me to hit on first, Thomas?
First one we have is the Makers Market and Food Truck Friday.
Okay, wonderful. Our Makers Market and Food Truck Friday, last time we were here, you guys had gave us funding to support 3 of those events and then come back in July and report on some information to get to request new funding for the next year. So we hosted April, May, and June, and we started in April. It was our first event that we did. We hosted with 6 booths and 5 food trucks. From that, each month we saw a 20 to 25% increase in our vendors. So we ended up with 10 booths and 10 food trucks and had an increase total of 50% involvement monthly over the beginning of that event till the time that we finished that event in June. So we are looking for hosting, that was our spring session, so we are looking to host a fall session with you guys. And we have, each truck said that they have roughly averaged 50% more sales on average when there are event days, when we are hosting those event days. So they are getting 50% more sales in food business than when they do if they're parked at a regular location or when they're doing smaller events. We have roughly more than 5% of our customers. It's really hard to track the customers at this event because it is an open public event. It is not ticketed. It is harder for us to get that customer feedback, as I'm sure you guys understand with that type of open environment. It's not a ticketed event, so we don't get feedback from every person that walks through there. There's no gates, so it is harder. However, we've asked our food trucks to keep a little bit more record of where they're seeing their customer base from. And they said that out of the guests that they see on regular, that they know that there's between 5 to 10% of their customers are coming from out of town. They also said that they have a regular following from Cannon Air Force Base, Texaco, Bovina, Friona, and Portales that come to these events specifically for these events as well too. So we know that we're seeing anywhere between 75 to 100 guests that are coming from out of town for each one of these events that we've hosted. And our June one, we would say that one roughly had 10% more than out-of-town guests because we did pair that in combination with Dragging Maine as well. So we know that from that follow-through and bleed over that we've had that. Also, additionally, our food trucks have said that since cannabis sales have started here in New Mexico, they have seen a significant increase in their businesses from Texas. So they do get overnight stays, they said, and they're getting late night traffic as well from those from that as well. And so pairing it with these events, they said that they want to stay later because they're getting more traffic from out of town in the later part of the evening as well too. So they've asked us to even do a couple of trial and error and staying open till late evenings, which we did on June, and it was a very successful night. Evening time was very high traffic. As you know, part of downtown was blocked off on Friday, but the part that we had hosted this event was not blocked off. And we had so much traffic in there. I can just tell you from the amount of sales that we had, the amount of trash bags that I dumped, we'll be requesting extra dumpsters from the city when we have those big events. So it was a lot of work on my arms, but it's definitely a worthwhile event. We do draw more crowds, bigger crowds when we have that pairing, when we're bringing in merchants or vendors that are food vendors and public vendors that are selling their goods that are made here in Clovis. So like I said, we've seen a rough increase of about 50% since we started this. So each month we're seeing about a 25% increase in our vendors, and our traffic for the people that are attending these, we're seeing over 20% increase in traffic. The food trucks said that their sales have gone up significantly. Now our market vendors, it's harder to manage those ones. They're smaller businesses, and not all of their products really fit people's needs or what they like as their niche product. So some vendors, we have vendors that sell products, like last one we had one who his minimum product price was $250. So he had fewer sales than someone who had a $3 to $10 item. So those sales vary much more significantly than our food trucks. And our food trucks are the ones who are kind of helping us keep track of those numbers of out-of-town guests a little bit better. So they're the ones who are seeing a significant. And they said they're roughly averaging 750 to 1,000 sales in that one day. Amongst all of them. Yes, combined. So we know that we're hitting over 750 guests each time we have this event. And we are marketing it to out of town, which is drawing people in off the highway. Our biggest challenge is we need more signage for the event because people aren't certain that it's a public event. So we've been working with trying to gain more signage. That's one of the things that we've talked about and we've seen struggle with. We had this season, obviously you guys know, was very windy, so we struggled with keeping signage up and out, so we were looking for some more wind-based signs that we were working with, and had sent some of that and reviewed the sign ordinance too to make sure that they would fit within that sign ordinance. Yes, exactly. Yes, it would be perfect. So that's one of the things that we're in need of for this upcoming season, are signs that are a little bit more usable and that will last longer, so we're not having to replace those.
How late does the event go?
Usually we host the makers till 7 p.m. We let the food trucks stay as late as they would like. So some of them, the last one in June, I was walking and locking out the last one at 11:30 at night. So we are getting late night services that are going through there.
Okay, so you mentioned that the food folks are the ones that are able to better track how many people are coming in from out of town. Are they tracking how far they're coming in from that would help us identify how many nights, stays they might really result in?
Yeah, so their challenge is that they're really overwhelmed as well too, trying to get the food orders out because because they're getting so many orders at these events. So a lot of them are trying to pick up as much as they can, but they are going through them really quick, and some of them have temporary employees that they're using. So I've talked to one who generally talks to most of his clients that is coming, and he's been the most helpful with gaining that information for me from. And he said that generally the ones that he knows that follow to come to this event that are coming every month that he sees as repeat clients, he's got a group that comes from Bovina, Friona, Portales, Texaco, and then he said that his big services that they're getting at night for their evenings are the Texas crowds. So they're getting people that are coming in from Texas later in the evening. So he said staying open past 5 p.m. has been more beneficial for the evening for getting out of town service. And then lunches, they said they do see quite a few from Cannon Air Force Base, which of course isn't coming overnight stays, but then they also see people that are traveling off the highway, because food trucks have a tendency to pull travelers. It's kind of one of those services that people feel comfortable with eating at food trucks when they're traveling. So they stop at food trucks. It's quick, it's easy service. They know it's guaranteed greasy, good food. So food trucks draw a lot of tourism because of that. So they said lunch is pretty busy, but it's usually earlier lunch, so the 11 to 12 o'clock is when they're getting out-of-towners, and then the evening, the late evening is when they're getting the most out-of-town guests.
Okay. I'm good.
You mentioned, what was your final numbers in June for food trucks and vendors?
In June, we had 10 booths, 2 vendors that are the makers, and 10 food trucks.
So 10, 2, and 10, what was it? Sorry.
10 and 10.
10 and 10.
Yes. So we had a total of 20 vendors out there.
Okay.
This has been such a successful event that we've actually helped Tucumcari start rebranding theirs, or start branding it so they could start hosting it, and they hosted their first one in June. So we know that we'll be pulling some of their vendors hopefully this way too, because they were really excited about it. And some of our vendors are coming from out of town as well too. So we've had a vendor that's coming from Friona. We have another one that was coming from, we have 2 from Portales. And then we also have a Bovina vendor as well too.
And what are these 2 guys doing here?
We're the strong men.
They came to talk.
Well, I appreciate you having us here this evening. I understand your challenge. She showed me some numbers when we came in. And it is difficult, I'd say, to try to prove overnight stays or night stays. And we'd be open to any suggestions you may on trying to be able to track those for this type of event. I just don't know. So anything you've been doing this for a while, maybe you've heard.
But we haven't been doing that a while. But we can put our brilliant minds together and probably come up with some ideas. High school students stand out there and ask questions randomly.
Maybe, or some kind of donation or something, but.
Tom Moore is the vice president of Clovis Main Street. I'm the president, Paul Tankersley, of Clovis Main Street. So it's very obvious. You folks need more money. You just need more money. You don't have enough money. Here's the one thing I do know. As we're developing the downtown to be more efficient and a bigger draw, the more of that we can attract, the more money you will get. Can we track those metrics as far as how many nights? No, we can't. But if we make our downtown Clovis better, it's going to be good for your business and your business and your business. And Stephen, I'm sorry, I don't know about your business, but it'll be better for my business. So right now, I can tell you at Tankersley's, 4 out of 10 people who walk in my door from Texas. That's pretty significant. And so we're trying to capitalize on that. And with these kinds of events, the more they come and see that we're improving, the better it's going to be for everybody. So that's kind of really where we're at. We're going to work on getting you a better metric on overnight stays. And so hopefully next time we're here, we'll be able to give you more precise numbers.
Well, so bringing that up, and that's a good point. So the question then, this draws people, it draws bodies to Main Street.
Right.
And we know the numbers based on the sales of the food trucks that are whether they're from Clovis, Portales, Tucumcari, they're not eating in our other restaurants. But aside from that point, are you finding that when you have these events during those days, are your vendors, your businesses on Main Street, are you seeing a lift in their revenues on those days?
Personally, I'm seeing new faces that I've never seen. Now, granted, a lot of that is Cannon Air Force Base people who've decided to come downtown because actually for the first time in the history of my memory, we have a nightlife on the weekends downtown. And that's been positive for everybody. And what we see from that is they are discovering what's in Clovis. That's the whole point. The more we can develop a discovery level from out-of-town people, the more money we'll have and the
Good
more
point.
things we'll be able to do.
It's a good point.
We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Our biggest impact with this is activation. So we're trying to activate the downtown so that way then, like when they're having, like you asked about, well, the billboards are bringing people in, and if the museum's not open, what are they doing to spend the night, to stay here that extra night? They're coming in, they're visiting these events, they're coming in, they're staying, they're going to our breweries, and those are reasons why they're staying. So those are the things that we're trying to highlight. Come downtown, spend your evening here, spend your afternoon here, and then there's a reason for you to stay the night here in Clovis and visit all of our businesses that we have in that district. And we are seeing our restaurants actually have told us it's better for them if the food trucks stay later, because they cannot service the amount of business that they have in the downtown on Friday nights. So they said, no, we're happy to have the food trucks, because I always wonder if that's a competition issue for them, and if we're taking away from business from one of those businesses and giving it to somebody else that's, you know, not a building owner. And they said, no, we've got too many patrons that the wait is so long. They're happy to have the food trucks down there. It helps bring more people downtown. More people are seeing their business. They're getting different walk-in, but they're also not having as many lines, and they're able to service the business that they have a little bit more timely. So activating has been a benefit for all of the businesses, as well as the temporary pop-up businesses that we're doing at the market events.
Very good.
We're good on this one. Then your next one is the Halloween on Maine Booze and Brews.
Yes. So the Booze and Brews, that's this is our 6th annual event that we'll be hosting, our Booze and Brews event. This is the event that actually helped us lock in and get our breweries downtown. I know you guys were worried about some of the funding as well too, and last year we were able to do this event for $49.04. So $4,900. So we were asking a little bit more because last year we weren't able to get in some of the materials that we had budgeted for. So I put that back in the budget this year, but I know you guys are stretched on your budget, so we can do it a little bit more inexpensive if we needed to take off of that, as well as the previous one if we needed to. We do have some rollover money that we can apply to the Makers Market as well too. But this event, we ticketed over 240 people at the last year's event. Each year we ticket more than 200 people. This has been an ongoing event. Last year we did it at 3 different locations. We did not track all of the overnight stays, as we hadn't really been asked that in the past for the direct number of overnight stays. We estimated that we have roughly between 8 to 10% of those people are spending the night that are the out-of-towners. We do have more people that come to that event that are not buying the tickets. They're actually just going to certain locations and staying and going to those locations and participating at the event at Roosevelt or at Levine's, and not doing the whole entire package of the event, which was the 3 different locations. This was a great event for our downtown. It helps bring business. It helps bring GRTs. It's getting lots of overnight. The people are not drinking and driving, so we try to recruit people to spend the night and to make sure that they have safe travel as well too to those places. So we do know that this event, because it is a brewery and alcohol related event, we do push the overnight stays and we push the safe travel as well too.
Thanks, Lisa. Hours?
This one goes till 11 p.m. and last year we were there till after midnight. So. And it kicked off at 5 p.m.
I didn't have any notes. I don't know if anyone else has any. We're good. Thank you,
Okay.
Lisa. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Just for the record, I didn't pressure Thomas in any way.
I'm good.
Need to take a break? I understand. All right, we will be reviewing the applications. Start at the beginning. All right, Curry County Fair.
since it's not until later on in the year. And that looks like when we funded it last year was in September. Same with the Halloween on Maine, Booze and Brews. And then I'm not sure Lisa, the events that are in October and in November, the 15,000, is that safe to say 5,000 for each event, or?
Yes, but I think we could reduce that some if needed. That was because we wanted to do additional signage, but we have some carryover from the past one, so if we needed to drop that, we could drop that about $4,000.
Each?
No, but we're off the total.
Want to be clear.
Yeah.
But, so she could come back, though, in the September meeting to put in those requests for the October and the November dates.
If we needed to.
Correct. Just some thoughts to maybe try and whittle down that number a little bit.
September 23rd one then?
We can talk about the carryover.
We can talk about this.
Lions Club as well? Funded
No,
September of last year for them.
They've moved it forward.
And when I looked at their, I want to say on their marketing plan, so they're going to be their dates are October 7th, 8th, and 9th for the actual event, so they need to be advertising in September.
Okay.
Correct.
They need to go now.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and recommend that we, Holiday Bazaar get moved to September. Yes?
No.
Our Shad Maple billboard, if we have to move that one also, because we got the one that we just finished paying out and it doesn't expire until September.
So,
So that will help.
and then the other thing to point out too, just in general, I lost my sheet. Looking at some of the events that still have to be funded in this upcoming year, obviously there would still be the Smoke on the Water. So if you look at, if you look at your carryovers from fiscal year 2023, sheet that's up there. And so if you look at some of those larger events, so Smoke on the Water that you previously had funded at 15,000, the music festival at 20,000, the Home and Garden Life and Style Show at 8,000. Dragon Maine was 36.9. The High Plains Pioneers Day Rodeo was 25,000. High Plains Junior Rodeo was 10,000. So I'm assuming that all of those events are going to come back and apply again this year. And so that's also something else to keep in mind moving forward. I mean, those start adding up.
Well, they all got big. Doesn't mean they have to stay big.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to fund them at those levels that we did in the past, but I'm just saying, those are events that I'm assuming you're gonna fund at some level in the future.
So, and I guess that, thank you, Justin. And having a hotel representative, I think it was beneficial last year when we were talking, when we got tied to it, it was like, oh, I've never seen a hotel room reserved for this.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't have that body right now at all.
No.
They're not just not here, or they're,
Oh, yeah, but.
He does.
you're our hotel guy.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we're
Well,
gonna rely on you to say,
Like for the fair, do you see any hotel rooms?
Well, typically I have my staff ask, like, oh, what brings you in town? And they'll say, oh, this or that, and that's how we track everything.
but do you have
so
any,
do you have any input on any of these events?
based on not to put you on the spot.
Right, yeah, but to put you on
I
the
mean, we just
spot.
really opened up March of last year, so it's not, we didn't see much business then. So we kind of opened up in the middle of COVID.
Well, first of all, are we gonna go ahead and knock off Booze and
I think that
Brews?
makes sense.
Yeah.
We're gonna knock off the tourism billboard.
So if we move
And the
these,
holiday
what do
bazaar?
we,
We're
We
asking
would just
people-
move them, we just move their applications to the September cycle.
how much do we remove off the application, the total requests, if we move those off?
So Still not enough.
I need to ask Siri.
Holiday, Maine, and then you're gonna do the October, November
Well,
one
the
off.
other thing is, do we fund everybody a little? Do you fund?
I say we look at some of these and say, some of these don't need funding at all. I think.
I mean, I look at, but when I look at
26,000.
55,000 people. it's
Oh,
a
and another 10
5-day
for that
event.
one. So, yeah,
We know it's
36,000.
Approximately 36,000 by moving those events to the September request. And, Mr. Chairman, if y'all don't mind using the microphones, that way the folks that are
We were
listening
trying
on
to be
Facebook.
secretive.
Yeah,
Kind of inclusive of ourselves.
Can you guys hear mine?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so we are talking about moving the Halloween Booze and Brews to September, right?
Yeah.
And
Main Street.
for
March,
Main Street Makers,
October, November, we're gonna move to September.
okay,
And then the holiday bazaar moved to September.
and the tourism billboard.
And the, billboard promotion to September.
You said it was the tourism billboard, though, is the one that we can
Oh,
move.
the renewal one.
Yes. The 5,500 one.
That was,
Both of them, or just
no, just.
just the tours? Okay.
And then, Mr. Chairman, that gives us time to see
What
how we're
happens.
tracking
Okay.
actual compared to budget, so.
So we're still working with roughly 48
48,000.
based on, well, I mean,
Okay, so what are our thoughts? Let's start with the events coordinator position that we fund every year for 35,000.
I don't know.
So,
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, the 48,000 is just if you're trying to
Right,
keep it
balanced.
balanced, but you have the full amount available.
If you guys wanted to
whatever we
spend
wanna do, right?
$162,000 this evening, it would certainly be your choice. Which is.
Which means you might not have a
Which means you may
Christmas
not
break.
have to have another Lodgers Tax
it
Board
means that
meeting.
we're stealing it from one of the future meetings is what we're doing.
Correct.
Correct. Like the Christmas parade.
Well, are there any here that we think don't need funding at all? Let's start there.
The endless energy one sounds like a private party, and,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just gonna
And a
say.
complete unknown.
yeah. But then,
Mm.
one of the things is we fund new events more, but it just seems like
When we have the money.
Right, well, I mean, that's a priority over recurring ones, when we have the money, whether we have the money or not, but I just feel like it's doesn't align.
Okay.
It's
I'm-
a private,
I would concur.
so we're not gonna fund the endless energy. When I look at
Okay, well, we're talking about the, our Curry County Fair. That's a big event.
Yeah, he spends
But they're asking for considerably more money, and a lot of that it looked like it was for local radio.
Yeah. If
So
I counted out the radio stations like Hobbs, Roswell, the TV commercial, stuff like that. In Santa Rosa, Chip and Carey's radio, it came up to $10,000. And I don't think anybody from there comes here. I mean, I understand our local radio
we have to.
stations, but
For them to qualify, 25% has to be from outside of our radius.
The advertising, yeah. Which I think that's gonna draw more of the night stays anyway, if we're drawing in from those outside areas. So my thought is, though, we don't need to fund that full 54,000 for because if we're focusing more on those outside, let's draw some more people in for possible.
I mean, when you have last year being 24,000.
Right.
Or 2 years ago. So, but I do think it's a huge event.
It's a huge event.
So, do you have a number you want to, I mean, 20,000?
What did we do last time? 25?
24, 5. Have you experienced the fair
Oh, yeah, I have.
as a hotelsman?
No.
So we'll give them a 25 again? Kinda split
We can
between
just
middle.
set that as a temporary number.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, Casey, you may have the answer. I hope you have the answer. From a marketing standpoint, how much do you guys internally budget for marketing for the fair?
Internally?
Yes.
Just for the fair?
So, yeah, so what you've asked for this request?
Internally, we budget, I believe it's around 12,000, give or take. We kind of split it up depending on, our fair is one whole animal of our budget. So we split it up between the concerts, which is the largest chunk, and then we kind of taper it down there for midway entertainment, general entertainment, and carnival. So it's kind of split that way, but yeah, somewhere generally around 12.
So this is on top of that $12,000 that you already have budgeted?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
I don't know if that added anything to your conversation, but just, there is money, marketing already built in, so.
Do you want to just write down some tentative numbers?
Yeah, let's
Or just
tentatively
see
put
some-
20 down.
Yeah.
What do you think? Just,
Yeah.
and then let's get through it, and then we can come back and see where we're at.
Cruisers. When we know it, yeah.
Again, they jumped their budget considerably as well.
Yeah. I mean, last year we gave them 13.
Want to look at 10, 8?
Let's start at 8 and see where we end. I mean, because that does bring a lot of people. We know we're getting overnight stays for that one.
Yeah.
There's no question.
And Lions Club, we've always done,
Same thing.
it's always been an easy 4,000.
4,000.
No on Swan, Chamber of Commerce. So museum billboard.
Which one?
For the
Promotion?
number 5, the museum, the museum billboard promotion. So my thoughts on that one. Of course, I love the chamber, and I always want to give them whatever they can do, but I don't see how that really results in overnight stays. Anybody who is coming through and seeing that billboard may stop and see something, but if they're passing through and we're hoping to grab them because of that billboard, I doubt they're going to change their plans, stay a night here, and not get to the balloon festival in time. That's sorry, what?
Some people have actually seen the museum billboard as they were traveling, and they actually have stayed the night.
Yeah, but without having numbers, when we are on such a tight budget, it's one that is hard to justify when it's in
Honestly,
a few miles away.
I think when I love it, like every other weekend for my son's AAU tournaments, I've never seen that billboard. I've never seen it.
All right,
I'll have to
put
start
that
looking
at 0
closer
for
'cause
now.
I don't know.
I just noticed it last trip I made, but it's pretty blah.
And then the tourism billboard is the one we're moving.
Yeah, the tourism is the one that she said we could move to
Oh,
September,
I-40 we could do September.
So events coordinator, full,
which is pretty critical.
yeah.
Yeah.
So fully fund that.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving the
So we're
holiday
gonna-
bazaar. And then the Main Street Makers. So here's my thought on this. When you talked about overnight or people coming from Texas, they're not coming for this event. They're coming for cannabis. And then
And they're getting hungry.
And they're getting hungry. So my thought is that, is this event bringing overnight or tourism? I think it's benefiting from tourism. You know, people being in town already for an event, like, I don't know if cannabis is an event, but I think for them it is. So, that one, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
So some of the thoughts I had, they brought up some great points as far as bringing people to the Main Street and visibility to what's down there, that they might come in and shop and increase our revenues and our gross receipts. But what feels funny to me is us funding an event that's benefiting those few truck food vendors, and we're not funding to support our, you know, all the rest of the restaurants in town. That feels funny to me. And if we were funding it for something that was going to result in overnight stays because of this event, it would feel easier, but that's what's uncomfortable for me.
And is it, if the trucks are increasing sales by 50%, should the trucks, should it be a part of their, I mean, should they be marketing
They'd be
this?
marketing it.
And they do. So they share all of our marketing as well, and then they post to their followings as well, because each one has more following. But each one of those businesses, so all those food trucks, regardless on if they're out-of-town food trucks or if they're local food trucks, if they come from out of town, they're required to get a city business license for the day or a business license regardless. So they're all paying the business license, and they all have to pay their city sales tax as well as any permanent restaurant. So they're all the same as any type of other business. They're paying the same fees as any other business here in town.
Right. The point I was making, though, that is uncomfortable for me is that we're funding to bring business to them. See what I'm saying? We're taking lodger's tax money and we're focusing that to bring business to them, those few that are right there. And I understand and I agree with the whole idea of let's stimulate, you know, the excitement and energy on Main Street. I'm on Main Street, I agree. But when and again, I may be way off base legally or what the rules, and you guys straighten me out there. It just feels strange to me for us to take these funds to put to this that is benefiting this small group of vendors. And we don't do it for the other restaurants.
But every other event that hosts, that has food trucks and vendors and stuff like that, I mean, same as Music Festival with Dragon Maine, all of them.
But they're bringing in proven overnight stays.
Well, and
That's what's more palatable.
They're assisting the same businesses the same way, like, you know what I mean?
but this one is called food truck, like it's the event is them, versus the event being 4th of July, or the event being Dragon Maine, like.
And multiple days, and again, those are,
And going back to, does it generate a room night?
right.
Or, and tourism on, does it bring in tourism?
Yeah, I'm not arguing the benefit. Absolutely agree it's a benefit. And again, that's a situation where it's an entire community event. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I,
It's part of an activation for downtown to bring people into the whole entire downtown.
I get it, absolutely, and I loved that presentation, and you do a phenomenal job of your presentations, you really do. And I'm being very honest in what my heartburn is, but again, it's just mine, so.
no, I feel the same.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for those events and traveling to those events,
Mm-hmm.
mark it off on a map. So I think there are people looking for these events.
And I know that Lisa has shared that with us before as well, and I agree there probably are. But when you can't give us any numbers or statistics that show or demonstrate that they're coming for that event and resulting in an overnight stay, that's what makes it more difficult, especially when we're on such a tight financial budget. But I'd love to hear from some other people and not just, I don't want to be the only
Yeah.
bad guy.
And to your point, Tom, the food trucks, and when we travel, we typically find something local, and that includes food trucks. But I'm not going, like, because of an event, or because of, like, I would only go to check off this food truck because of this event, or maybe it does, but I think the tough part is, for me, again, the examples are, they're in town for something else, and then they're staying the night because of something else.
Perhaps we did, I guess there's somebody watching a train. Lisa's. I was remembering, well, can't get a hold of it. It's a residual cannabis in the air, I think, this week. But.
There's a food truck down the street.
Had a great suggestion. It was a QR code at each of these food trucks.
To have a sign downtown at the event where you would have a QR code and in the courtyard where everybody sits, and then with their smartphones they can scan the barcode and show whether or not it's their first time, second time, where they're coming from, and everything that we could hook up to those QR codes. So we could do that at the next upcoming event, so that way then we could prove to you guys that.
We have to ask the question.
Maybe, you know, I think.
Are you staying because of the food truck?
Most of the booze and brews probably.
But yeah, and I think one of the things though is this is not just a food truck event that we're doing anymore. We're creating a makers market, and that is farmers, homemakers, people that are making products that are based off of, craftsmen, people that's what people are coming for as well too. That's a big draw for this. We have people that do travel to go to those makers markets. I mean, I was just over this weekend. I literally picked a location to go because I wanted to go to their makers market, because I wanted to go and see what they're doing at their events, to see it, and that's where I love to shop. I love to shop homemade products.
Did you stay the night?
Yes, I did. I absolutely did. And people search out those makers. They want to buy products that are homemade.
Can you change that to where you do a 2-day event of that and not include Food Truck Friday at all? But you can have food trucks, I mean, they can go, but just not,
We can market it as
we don't market it.
makers market, because we are expanding that makers market. So we can take off the food truck part of the marketing for it. We just tried to pair it because it brings foodies and people that are going for those market events all in one.
I think that's a good idea.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sorry, and I just,
Go ahead.
looking at it and going back to the amount of money we have, and looking at an application that's multiple nights that we know comes, brings vendors in, or brings people overnight, that's proven to bring people overnight, versus something that it costs the same amount of money, and we don't have proven overnight stays, that it's specific to this event. And that's my struggle.
Might I suggest, because of the tight budget, the ideas you guys have, brilliant. Do some tracking so that when you come back, you have some numbers that can actually help us make intelligent and responsible decisions for the lodger's tax. That will be so much more helpful. Your ideas are fabulous, and I think it's wonderful, but when it comes down to the very difficult decision of us spending this money well and smartly, those are things that are gonna make a difference as to what we can.
I understand, absolutely. We can work on that. Like we said, it's an open air public market, so it's hard to reach out and try to talk to each person. Our challenge is we're such a small nonprofit, we can't host events without support from the lodger's tax. So that's where we're at with how we can't continue to keep doing them to gain that information without support to get there, so.
Do the food truck,
Small budget.
do the food trucks pay something to be a part of this?
$25 if they want power, there's an additional fee for power, but all of our market vendors are only $25 to be there.
But a consideration might be that they have a higher buy-in, more skin in the game to help cover some of the costs to build this up to where we can kind of.
We've tried, but we haven't been successful in getting it.
they're doubling their money on these Friday nights, you'd think. Okay, just thought I'd throw that out there.
And, Mr. Chairman, just quick question. So, like the Lions Club, the gun show, they know where their vendors are coming from. Do you have that information for your vendors for the Makers Market?
For most of them, not with me here, but yeah, I mean, we do know that we have makers that are coming from out of town. We know that we have, I think, 2 that came from Port Alice at the last one. I know that some of our food trucks are coming from the outline area. They're required to get city permits, so I don't consider them out of town.
Do you track those? Do you have copies of all of those?
I keep copies of all of it because it's required by Michelle at the health department, so she comes out and checks them.
And the makers as well?
The makers aren't required to have that because the state of New Mexico doesn't require that for makers anymore. So it's considered their homegrown business.
Not all are.
Yeah.
Not all are, so.
Only canned vegetables are required to do that now. So I've met with the state on making sure that all of those vendors we're doing it by their.
So similar to the other events, then I guess in the shows, you do have the capability to actually track at least who your vendors are that are coming in and out.
And be able to track if they would be an overnight stay.
Correct.
Because Portales probably is not.
No, Portales probably is not an overnight stay, but we are bringing them from out of town.
And so you've already hosted events in this last year. And so is that something that you could get to the board? I mean, we don't have the post reports yet. So if you could get us those post reports and supply that information, then we can get that out to the board. That may help. Obviously, the October and the November events where they've asked you to come back in September, so you could have that supporting documentation. And then just to remind the board that if you did that, I mean, 5,000 would be the requested amount, and for just the single event, and so not looking at the full 15,000 for consideration.
Or when you said you had carryover, are you talking about carryover from the 15,000? Or maybe you just allow them to use any carryover for the September
How
event?
much, do you know how much they're?
I haven't received anything.
Oh, because you haven't turned it in?
Waiting on our last 2 invoices to submit this month, so we should, by my tally, I'm guessing that we should have around 3,500 or so left over from the spring events that we can carry over into the fall.
So that 3,500 could be applied to the September event.
Correct.
And then you could come back and ask for and have all that data ready for then.
Rather than reverting what they
Correct.
don't spend, like I show on the other report that I provided you.
We could just carry over what we have to support the September one, and then in October come back with more information.
That would be
for you
great.
guys for that.
Good thinking, Justin.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
We still have-
So if we fund the 1, 2, 3, 4 that we've talked about, the county fair, the annual run to Hillcrest, the Lions Knife Show, and the events coordinator, we're at 67,000.
Okay.
And so that's over, but we're hoping we can make it up.
What amount were you talking on the fair?
Fair.
Yeah.
20,000.
Okay,
Is
okay.
what we were thinking for the fair. We were thinking 8,000 for the 25th annual run to Hillcrest. Fully fund Lions Club for 4,000, and fully fund the events coordinator for 35,000. Did I do the math right?
We still have to discuss Booze and Brews.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're not moving that to September?
No.
And no to the museum billboard?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought we were gonna do the Booze and Brews to September.
Is that one moving?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that detail that I wrote, didn't read.
And the holiday bazaars to
What's this at, what,
September,
68?
and the tourism billboard to September.
68?
I got 67.
67?
It is.
Yes.
It is which one?
67?
You, Siri?
67,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct.
What are we doing with Main Street Trucker Road
Which one?
at 35? Just, they didn't even do the rollovers?
They're rolling over, yeah, so we don't have to put it in this.
Okay.
All right, good?
I'm good. Yes, yes.
All right. So we have reviewed the applications. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Freddie with the first motion and a second.
I second.
All right, well done. Stephen with the second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And all opposed? The motion carries. And the meeting is not over. Vicky.
That's right, we have that.
Yeah, got it.
For the good of the order.
Mr. Chairman, I think I remember you're the one that requested that be on
I
the
know,
agenda.
Vicky wants to run out of this room, I can tell. So before she does, we are going to discuss, for the good of the order, and it's good that some of you guys are here to discuss this as well, but one thing we noticed, and it's been a little while since we brought this up, so correct me if I'm wrong, on the form that you turn in post, is that we don't ask how many room nights were actually generated, how many, well, one is, did it generate,
Overnight stays?
no, gosh, oh, just people coming in from out of town. What do we call those?
Yeah, so the current questions that we ask on the summary report is, how did you calculate your event attendance? Describe your advertising, marketing, promotional plan, and how you use the funds to achieve it. And then describe the event's impact on businesses and residents located in Clovis. And so those are the three questions that we ask. The results, we ask for the number of participants at your event, not volunteer staff, the number of volunteers and staff at your event.
So if our number one concern and question that we have to answer is, does it generate tourism? We need to say, let us know how this, or, what numbers do you have to justify that this generated tourism overnight? And then, all the things that we take into consideration when we're doing this, so we can help justify the next time. And then if they're being asked, they can, I think we're trying to make this where the board has easy decisions.
Correct, and the other thing, if you'd like us to start reporting on, I know that on the spreadsheet that we hand out, you ask whether or not they've been funded in the past. This report is supposed to be turned in no later than 30 days after the event. There are some things that hold up. I mean, it may be invoices or vendors not getting things in on time, et cetera. But that is something that we could also put on the information that we give you, is whether or not we're actually receiving these reports in a timely manner.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, would you want to know the difference between room nights for, say, when we're talking about Lions Club? The number of room nights for the vendors versus number of room nights for participants?
Yeah, I think it's easy. Yes, I think it's a good question, because we feel like we get the vendor answer typically, because it's easy to track. But I think, if you have 50 vendors and you're, for the fair, you have 55,000 people coming, it's a massive number even if you've got, 5% coming. So that would be, I think, beneficial to us. And with technology, I think somebody could figure it out.
You can ask. I mean, you can. The hotels can ask. Doesn't mean somebody has to give a response.
But then we're dependent on the hotels then feeding that information back to us.
Correct. And then I would say the other example I could think of is from using a technology standpoint and using QR codes. Honestly, is
put your name in for
put your name, info, and create a survey.
You can win something.
Be having to work the event, asking people to fill out, and you're carrying around an iPad. Do you mind taking this quick survey? I know that in events that I have gone to in other states, and they were primarily located within civic centers, that they had tables and booths of volunteer staff sitting there asking people to fill out questionnaire cards, because it was from a lodger's tax standpoint, trying to collect that information. Are you going to be able to get it 100% accurate? Absolutely not. I think that the board understands that you can't get an account for every head that's there.
Right, good idea.
Well, not
A visitor's booth, as an example, at your evening event or your day event. A visitor's booth, win a prize, something that's gonna draw them over there to entice them to hopefully fill it out, to get, at least get some gauge, some idea.
I mean, even you thinking about, I mean, at the Booze and Brews event, I mean, the first stops at wherever, say Roosevelt, and just hitting people while they're in there. Hey, while you're having your beer, do you mind filling out this quick survey?
Yeah, why'd you come here? Where'd you come from? Are you staying the night?
Get a free pint glass.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I think that's honestly the best way to do it is to give, because we did that with the Christmas parade. We did an online survey, tell us how far you come, and then everybody who put their name onto that Facebook feed and where they were coming from, then I put them in a raffle for a, prize. And that's when people take time to do surveys, is if they get something out of it.
Right, and each of these entities coming to us for the funding should sit down with whatever their committee is for these events, brainstorm, come up with ideas, just like we do for any of our activities, and how do we gauge our success? Because let's say you're not getting money from lodger's tax, you still want to know, you still want to gauge your success. What is this doing what we intend it to do? And you got some mighty brains on your side, and putting them together to come up with ideas.
So why don't the Lodgers Tax Board come up with its own form so we're all apples to apples and everybody's asking the same questions? And then otherwise, we need money to do that.
So one of the questions I ask every single time, and it should just be on this form, what are your anticipated overnight stays? Can we add that to the application?
It's in the application, I think.
Anticipated overnight stays? I've never seen
Typically
it.
ask for previous. And another thing, we had a credit card processor that basically data mined customer information. So when you paid with your credit card, it knew where you were from, what you ordered. It was unbelievable because, I don't know at the fair how many people are paying with cash versus, like that type of information is now accessible because they have your billing zip code. There's companies that have figured it out.
Do you remember what company? I mean, if you shoot me an email with that or anything, I'd love any information just to help, because I'm not familiar with that as much, but anything that you have on helpful feedback would be great. And is there a way that maybe Lodgers Tax can also do a form that goes into the hotels that asks people, like, where they're coming from, if they're coming for an event? Maybe it's as broad as saying if they're coming for an activity in town, or if they're just, passing through. Maybe even just some of that would be helpful to know if the activation that all of us collectively are doing is actually, helping to generate those overnight stays.
Kind of validated against what you guys are feeding to us. It's a secondary.
For the credit card. Why are you here? Is that a
It's not really a requirement. It's just something I require my staff to just get an idea of what's bringing them to our hotel and what's bringing them to Clovis.
I don't want them to miss this, what you want to say.
I mean, we can, for my hotel, I can come up with something where they can keep track of everything that they ask.
So are they not filling that out?
Okay. So I don't know if that's something you wanted to share with them, but Casey had a question.
Yeah, I guess my question is, how feasible is it to get all the hotels, per se, collectively, kind of on the same page to where we can do a promotion? So say we want to do are you here for the fair promotion? How do we go about getting all the hotels collectively to participate in that one program? Is there a good way to get that put together?
I think most people aren't gonna answer unless somebody's asking them the question. I walk into a hotel room, I'm not gonna scan a QR code. I can tell you, I'm not gonna. So unless somebody is coming to me and saying,
They all check in.
they
Well,
all
they all
check
check
in.
in.
Right, and then it's a matter of asking hotels to then summarize, and that's gonna be extra work. Would hotels be willing to do that on,
And the hotels get
and how much work and effort is that
Just that they stayed the night.
to justify for you guys?
And that's also for us, it's hard for, I mean, most of us are 1 and 2 people, you know, parties that are trying to put on these great big events, and there's only, you know.
But you get volunteers, you get support, you get help, you have the vendors that are benefiting, you have.
Yeah, so it's harder to then put that on, you know.
It's the catch-22. If you know, the money's available, if you can document it. It's hard to document because you don't have the money.
Well, it's time you need more than anything to document it.
money.
And how much of the lodgers
Doesn't everybody else work 24 hours?
would be tied to hotel rooms? Because isn't some of it just for community activation and community events?
No, it's all for promotion of events.
But they don't have to tie into the rate.
The thought process, I guess I would say behind lodger's tax in general is because it is funds that are generated by hotel stays that you're going to draw people in at your event, which is going to generate more lodger's tax that can be used for the events. Because if we just are having events and not having any hotel stays, then we're not going to have any money to advertise the events we have. So it's all about generating another room night and advertising to generate that room night. And going back to, Member Tarson, your question earlier about the application, we do ask a question on there that says, describe your event assessment evaluation plans in terms of counting your participants, where they are from, their hotel stays, et cetera.
Is it on this paper that we get?
Yes, ma'am, it's question number 4.
Oh, see, thank you. Where are they from? Their hotel stuff. Oh, we just never get the information. So they describe
Well, and
usually,
this is assessment, like how, but we don't ask what your previous, if you had a previous one, what, but now I think with
Lodging
the
booked
form,
by the
we'll have
event
it turned
center.
in.
Correct.
And we can reference it going forward.
can we reference it on their application so
Well,
that
it's
we?
gonna be, like
see
a
it?
new application, they wouldn't have any information, but since it's a past one, they would have
Right.
the information turned in on on our new form.
Right, but then they come in here, we have to try and remember?
No,
What they
Vicky
have?
sends it to us, or I guess, do you keep those forms handy during the?
Yeah, we scan every one of them. We have every one of these forms that have been turned
We
back into us.
But again, we could also add the question just to ask how many anticipated room nights.
Based on their past, that we were
Correct.
not having to
Right.
go back on old records
I mean,
for
we're not
us to
gonna, I
figure-
don't think you
it
would,
should
as
be
the
right in front
board,
of us.
would say, oh, no, you said here, but your report said that, so.
Not about that, but it's
Right.
instead of me
Having to
asking
ask,
every single
right.
time, they
Just-
know from past events, can we just have them provided in this summary that we're looking at here? We're not trying to go back and look at,
If you had a previous, if you've done this
you've had a
previously,
previous-
what were you?
Yep.
based on that, what would you anticipate?
We can certainly add that question to the
And
to the
again, the
application.
same vendors versus participants to have
yeah.
it as well, so that
The
you know.
more detail, the positive, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's positive for everybody.
Okay.
I
They
think-
answer they
Oh.
answer the questions. I would say I'd have to go back and look.
I think the other thing is, we're now going down into the details because we don't have the money. So in the past, we funded,
had the
I mean,
money.
when I first started, we funded Domino's tournaments. And like, it was, we did.
Absolutely.
And I think, now it's becoming a documentation process.
All need more money, and Clovis has to improve in every aspect for people who want to come here, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And I would say that 100% of the decisions aren't necessarily made based off of the number of hotel stays. Granted, that's a driving factor, but
And I think,
please, I mean, when you're looking at you're looking at a 4th of July event, you're probably going to fund that, even though it doesn't create maybe not a lot of hotel stays, just simply because of the magnitude of what that event is.
Lodgers tax always funded
No.
No.
Not always been brought.
Yeah, the last couple of years ago.
And I think, again, when we talk about the first question, and I don't know if we need to change the first question, but the first question is, does it generate tourism? And that's the first thing we've talked about, but if it needs to be, does it generate room nights?
That's the more pertinent thing, because not all tourism is room nights.
Right. So is, I mean.
It's true.
True.
And we have, and in the past, obviously, there are things that we have funded because it's good for the community. We know it generates people coming in, but if it doesn't, you know.
Right, and as Mr. Howald said, if we don't fund things that are generating room nights, then we have no funding for future events. I mean, great, the gross receipts that come with it are the bonus. But again, as we've seen, because we're still recovering from lower revenue. Right, but without the room nights, we can't fund.
We know that
Right,
room nights generate it all.
correct.
Yeah. So do we want to change our first question? Or do we want to keep it at, does it create, because I know that
That's
the commission, we had some questions on one that we didn't fund, or didn't fund completely.
The rules.
At one of the previous meetings. Because it was about the kids, it was a kids event. Oh, yeah.
It was the kids.
Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah, it was the Lisa Kids event.
Kids event.
That's just what's eligible.
The books.
Yeah. Or it was like their entrepreneur. Yeah. Where it was in the middle of the day, it wasn't fully funded, but we knew it was, you know, a positive thing. And, you know, so those, yeah, I think it exists, so.
We appreciate the job you're doing.
Thanks.
Well, and
Don't have an easy decision to make.
one of your questions and goals is to try and hopefully the events are successful to where they're self-sustaining and they're not coming back to the Lodgers Tax Board to ask. And that's I mean, when you look at our Lodgers Tax goals and purposes, part 4 of our application, it says on there, you know, you agree to the following: increase your organization's capacity to develop resources and funds and reduce reliance on Lodgers Tax funding. Everybody signs and initials every one of these every time on the application. I've never seen someone say, no, we're not doing that. But that is the intent of what is trying to accomplish. Because if it's a good event, people are going to pay to come to that event, and you're going to be able to have sponsorships. And so that is what's going to drive that event in the future, not Lodgers Tax.
Right, and as we reviewed, and we've reviewed with other municipalities, some of their applications actually will not fund the same amount every year. They decrease, and by a large amount, what they fund if you come back with the second and expect you to have
On the
more
basis of their
revenue
growth.
if you want funding.
Learned a lot on this meeting.
So, Mr. Chairman, in summary, we will try to summarize y'all's questions that you would like for us to add. We'll also revise the summary report. We'll shoot a draft out to the members of the board. If it's something that you guys are agreeable to from, or don't want us to make any other changes, we can bring it to you for your consideration of changing the application, because I believe we had approved it previously, so the board will need to approve the changes to the application itself.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Vicki, anything else you want to discuss? There being no further business to discuss, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank y'all for volunteering your time too.
Thank you.
I do realize